Again, last week we talked about the top 5 defensive back groups in the country for the 2017 football season. Now we're going to be talking about the opposite side, the guys they're going to be going against week in and week out, and that is the receiving corps. Now, again, this is top 5. And this is all projected up this upcoming season. A little bit of stats from last season, what they got going. We're going to start off strong here with number 5, the Colorado Buffaloes. Now, the slot receiver duo of Devin Ross and Jay McIntyre, who combined for 1,199 yards on 101 catches and 6 touchdowns last season. You tag that along with another top slot, a speedy receiver in Shea Fields, as well as talented incoming freshman Katie Nixon. And this team really shouldn't miss a beat, but it is still relying on who is going to be the quarterback. Seifu is now gone, and unless they get a guy who could step up immediately, it's going to be tough for this group to perform, but I have enough faith, and I trust these wide receivers, a senior-led team, to get the job done. And I think Buffaloes might still shock some people. I think they're going to be thinking a little bit down here, especially after a terrible bowl performance against Oklahoma State. I still have them in the top 5 as the number 5 team. We go over to number 4, and last week we talked about Alabama reloading every season. Well, they're going to do it again here at wide receiver. Now, Calvin Ridley didn't have the best sophomore season last year. You could even call it a sophomore slump. But with Alabama getting a new offensive coordinator in Brian Doble, who comes from the New England Patriots, he was offensive coordinator there. He created a ton of mismatches with Rob Gronkowski, and Julian Edelman. He should be able to do the same with Calvin Ridley, who is still one of the best wide receivers in the country. You got Robert Foster, Trayvon Diggs, who should be able to also make some amazing mismatches. And maybe this offense changes a little bit. They go from a dominant running game, and maybe they open up the passing game now with Brian Doble at helm for the offensive coordinator position. Main thing is, of course, this always kind of goes back on the quarterback, and that's Jalen Hurts. If he can keep his eyes downfield just a tad bit longer, maybe we'll see more breakout plays by Calvin Ridley and his company. Moving on to number 3, and this was really tough. Really, 2 and 3 can be a 2A and a 2B, if you want to call it. So don't get too offended, but this was a very, very tough decision. In this one, I'm going with the Oklahoma Sooners. Now, they're quickly and quietly becoming wide receiver U. Just look at this. They've replaced top receivers one after another. And this is just ones that came off the top of my head. But Kenny Stills, Ryan Broyles, and now D.D. Westbrook. And the list goes on and on with others. Next in line can likely be some transfer players. You got Kentucky transfer Jeff Badgett, who is a very speedy guy who could make some mismatches. And you got JUCO transfer and a very intriguing player in Marquise Brown who comes in. You tag that along with one of the, if not the top tight end in this class in Mark Andrews, and Baker Mayfield has a pretty easy stretch for his Heisman campaign. And it was very tough to have Oklahoma putting them at number 3. Again, you can list it 2A, 2B, whatever you want to do. But coming in at number 2 is the Clemson Tigers. And the reason I have Clemson over Oklahoma, again, this has nothing to do. We're not looking at the quarterbacks and what's projected stat-wise. It's just overall skill that these players have. And the reason I have Clemson over OU is because I believe that Hunter Renfrow and Deion Kane are much better NFL prospect wide receivers and actually will produce more in the future, again, overall skill-wise, than a lot of unknowns at Oklahoma, but they still have a lot of potential. So that's why I'm going with Clemson at number 2. Ray McLeod is also a really good player. And also, look out for Clemson and their freshmen who should get all ACC honors here, and T. Higgins and Amari Rodgers. Both of these guys, again, very intriguing players at the freshmen, and them coming in. It's going to be exciting. That's why I do have Clemson at number 2. Now, at number 1, this was really easy. This is clear cut and above number 1 position. And that is the Oklahoma State Cowboys. It pains me. As a TCU fan, it pains me. But James Washington is by far the best slot receiver in college football. Watching him in person and just watching Oklahoma State games and him just torching my poor TCU defense. This guy is explosive. He's just everything and anything. 6 foot, 205 pound senior. He came back. He could have gone in the NFL draft. I don't think he would have been first rounder, but it was a good decision by him to come back, as likely if he produces what he did last season, he could be a first rounder in 2018. Now, he caught 71 passes, 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns last season. And that was, again, ton of receivers for Oklahoma State. Jalen McCleskey, a guy who's very underrated, not talked about a lot, should have another 1,000-yard season after hauling in 73 passes for 812 yards and 7 touchdowns. Now, they lose some of their tight ends. Blake Jarwin was a big guy. But they also get a good LSU transfer in Tyrone Johnson, who should add to the experience of this team. Of course, having one of the best quarterbacks in the country in Mason Rudolph also helps the production as well. But we're looking overall skill in these guys, and James Washington just boosts this team so much more. And the explosiveness this guy has is just incredible. Watching him at the Alamo Bowl against Colorado and what he was able to do play after play, and it's like they just knew it was coming. He was just going on a vertical, and it just kept happening. He kept catching him. Mason Rudolph, Baker Mayfield, these guys need to be appreciative of the receivers and the talent they have and the weapons they have. They have the easiest stretch for a Heisman campaign that, it's going to be interesting. They'll obviously have to play each other, Bedlam rivalry. That'll be fun. Likely one of these teams will be the Big 12 champion and going on to the first in a long time Big 12 championship this year. Did I leave your team off? Tell me why your team has the best receivers in college football for this upcoming season. I like to know. Tweet me at Short Sports Show. Become a fan on Facebook, The Short Sports Show.